Welcome to Sports with Balls. We are your hosts, Jeff Michael and Lauren Leal.
What up? Oh my gosh, I love this jam coming in here. Like a lot of I feel like when competition's about to start, we're about to, fight each other in a game.
We probably are going to fight
each other in the ring
show.
or something. I don't know. It just is.
Oh man,
pumping.
much different than Americana, what we were just jamming to. Jason's our producer's band, which is really good, man. And you're playing this Thursday, you said, right, at the rodeo? Man, so over the cook-off this coming up this Thursday, and I do have a special hat that I may put on throughout the show. Well, later. Rodeo-wise here in Houston, Texas. But welcome into Sports with Balls. Sorry, running a little late, but we promised an hour worth of sports talk with Lauren Leal and myself, Jeff Michael. Lauren, long time no see.
I know, right? Like, it's only been a week.
Yeah, 1 week.
Right?
Well, since Sunday, yes.
But yeah, it was Super Bowl last time we saw each other, and a day. It's been a week and 2 days, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome into SWB. We're happy to be here tonight. And for the record, are you happy about the Rams win in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I was okay.
You picked the Bengals.
I did, but I remember I said I picked the Bengals with the points, and that would have covered, right? 3.5 or 4. Vegas killed it. Like, they must have done very, very well. That missed field goal in the first half, I was like, oh, that's big.
Well, you also predicted there was going to be a huge injury
Yes.
in which OBJ went down non-contact.
Yep, that was brutal. And come to find out, I guess it was an ACL, torn ACL. His future kind of hangs in the balance whether or not he wants to keep playing or not. OBJ, I think he had a decent season once he got traded, once he went over to the Rams. And
Absolutely.
Cleveland obviously wasn't the place for him, and now it's on the fence whether it was Baker Mayfield or OBJ, who's really at fault here. Because for the longest time, OBJ was thrown under the bus. Some people
You also have to look at coaching too, right?
Sure.
We talk about Kevin Stefanski versus Sean McVay here as well. And we always give props to Sean McVay and how great he's done under Kyle Shanahan, like under the same tree. And
Yeah, exactly.
all that stuff too. So there's a lot that plays into OBJ versus Baker Mayfield. I don't know.
Head coaches, yeah, it all comes into play, and now we got to see with the Rams if they can go in and keep all these pieces together, and if they're going to be able to repeat, which obviously very, very hard thing to do. But the NFL season. The offseason's already off to a bang, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Absolutely. And we are here with you tonight. So happy to be here on a Tuesday. We had to push it back one night. But thank you so much for tuning in out there on any platform that you are on. Currently, I'm seeing us on Facebook. Danny Sims from Arkansas. He said, just not the same without you guys. Thanks so much, Danny, for tuning in. And everybody else out there. Tonight, we are going to get into a different topic, a different sport that we don't normally talk about. And we're talking
Hoops.
through the hoops.
Did you see me play the other day? Did you see all that? You didn't see my post, did you?
No.
Because you don't. Lauren's so hard to get on social media.
Look. 2 days, for the past 2 days, I've kind of been off social media. I did make a post today because I was working. But other than that, I really haven't been on it because I've told myself I'm just going to step away. I need a break. I need to get back to myself because there was a lot of mental things going on with my head, with my breathing, with anxiety, and I just needed to step away, and that was one of the things. It was very rejuvenating.
I mean, you're on 10 planes a week. I would get anxiety
seriously. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love this life. I just need to take a break for a minute, and which I was able to do this weekend. So tell me about your basketball social post.
Oh no, I mean I was draining them, so I started to get back in shape, and then my knees were hurting a little bit, but I mean I'm starting to get back to the NBA 3-point line, and I was shooting them pretty good because not that the NBA All-Star Weekend inspired me whatsoever. I just love playing basketball. It's like anybody. It's like anything that people actually love. Jason, our producer, like you said, is in a band. He loves playing. In his band. I love playing basketball. I play it for 30, 45 minutes a day, probably 5 days a week.
I think that was like a shot. Like
what?
Like, I'm not going to make it in the NBA, but I love to play basketball. No. You're like, Jason, like, he's in a side band, but he's never going to make it big.
No, it's more about passion. It's more about passion. Like, and I love playing basketball, and I was just draining them. So it's very hard for me, and I know this sounds weird, but it's very hard for me to record myself, right? But so like press and play on a camera and sticking it down there, and you have to make I only did that twice, and the second one, obviously, I drained a bunch of threes. So it was fun, and I'm starting to get back in shape, and I absolutely love that. Love it.
So, speaking of draining threes, we're going to get into the rundown and All-Star Weekend.
Yes.
In which the three-point contest was one of them. Now, did you watch any of the All-Star Weekend? Any of the contests, the actual game Sunday night?
Why are you going to try to call me out? No.
No, it's okay. It's okay. A lot of things have changed in this country, and I think, unfortunately, one of them is people not watching basketball anymore.
Yeah, for me, I knew what was coming, and you've seen the backlash already from people from the NBA, and that's why I didn't watch. It's almost like trying to watch the Pro Bowl now in the NFL. It's not even fun. It's just not fun. It's not entertaining. And look, I think they'll eventually get this right. I think they will. They'll come up like MLB has an incredible concept, and their All-Star games fantastic. Now, I think they just need to get back to doing some other things that are more entertaining because I didn't watch a single bit of it. I'm not gonna lie, I did not, and I was preoccupied. But I didn't watch anything. I didn't.
So, let me inform you. Team LeBron won.
Yeah.
By
I saw the highlights.
a shot at the very end, 163 to 160 over Team Durant. And like I said, not a lot of people. I want to know what your thoughts would be on changing this, but the dunk contest has always been my favorite thing to watch.
Yeah.
It's always so fun. It takes me back to when I was younger. I remember watching it with my brother and it was like, oh, like through the legs, like twist, like through the hoop, like, the excitement, the fun that was there. And so I didn't, like you, partake in watching everything, but I caught some highlights. And aside from the highlights, I didn't watch the actual competition in which I was told there were so many mistakes and so many misses, specifically by the Rockets' Jalen Green.
So I've got it pulled up here. They made 23% of their attempted dunks. Ouch.
Yeah,
that's not a dunk contest. That's embarrassing. That's flat out
That's a
embarrassing.
fluking contest.
Their combined dunk attempts, there were 37. They made 10 of 37 attempts, which is 27%. And of course, there's that video that surfaced of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar getting up, like in the middle of it, and like I'm out of here.
Like I can't believe this right now.
It was
So the Knicks' Obi Toppin, he took the victory in the final round, of course, of the contest. And then we turn to the 3-point, in which Anthony Towns from the Timberwolves won by scoring 29 in the final round, and the runner-up was Luke Kennard. And of course, the 3-point king, Steph Curry, opted out. Otherwise, he probably would have gotten another win. Any idea of why he would opt out?
No, I don't. I thought that, Steph Curry.
It's kind of weird.
Steph Curry, other than Michael Jordan, I think Steph Curry probably won the weekend, right? Even though it was in Cleveland, I think that I think Steph Curry probably had the best weekend of everybody. And, he had that he scored 50, obviously, in the All-Star game, but it was all for donation for charity, which is absolutely amazing. So I thought that was great by his foundations and everything. And Steph Curry, just an incredible player and an ambassador for the game. Like he's just been amazing his whole career. And I respect Steph Curry. He's had an up and down year. He was very, very hot at the beginning of the year, and then he kind of cooled off here of lately. But I think the All-Star game gave him a reboost, and they got Klay Thompson back. So they should be very good. I
mean, don't forget, Steph Curry broke the 3-point record earlier this season. So he's already on his way. I mean, he's had a great season this far. And just before jumping into that, we can jump into it right now. Jeff, I wanted to ask you, you talked about Steph Curry winning the weekend. Who is winning the NBA right now? And before you answer this, you have Steph Curry, like you said, point scorer, going off on the 3-point line as he does. You have LeBron James, who is the face of the media for the NBA, and we always joke about being the commissioner, making a lot of the choices for just the NBA as a whole. And then you have Joel Embiid, who is is dominating right now as far as gameplay. Nothing on social media, none of that kind of stuff, but like he is playing the game and he's playing it very, very well. Who would you say is the face of the NBA?
Well, Joel Embiid now it's going to be an interesting dynamic. James Harden, I think, starts on Friday, the first game for the 76ers. So Joel Embiid and James Harden, look, that's Joel Embiid's team, like 100%. Harden trying to take a back seat on the 76ers is going to be very interesting. And I don't think that Joel Embiid, he's having an incredible season, and the type of person that he is that I see on a microphone or that you see through his interviews, I don't think that he's going to put up with James Harden's BS. Like, I just don't. So that's going to be that's going to be fun. And the face of the NBA is interesting. I think that And we talked a little bit about this prior to the show kicking off. I think Michael Jordan really won the weekend, other than like Steph Curry. This was in Cleveland, and Michael Jordan had a rousing ovation when he showed up. I mean, unbelievable, twice as loud as LeBron James did in his own hometown, And so the whole GOAT conversation is always interesting to a lot of people, because it's generational. So the old heads, older than I am, think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then my generation think Michael Jordan. Of course, the younger generation thinks LeBron James. So that's all generational as far as GOAT conversations. But the face of the NBA.
And I agree with you there. I've been a Michael Jordan fan. I've watched how he's played through the years, and of course, the Last Dance just was magic.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was amazing to watch.
Ultimate
So I agree with
competitor.
you there. But we're talking about the current, present day, 2022 or 2021-2022 season. Who's running the league right now? Who do you picture when you think basketball?
So my favorite
Professional
person,
basketball.
me personally, to watch right now in the NBA is Ja Morant. He is unbelievable. He is explosive.
That's not someone who I had.
He's flying around. He's amazing. He hasn't gotten the endorsements yet because he plays in Memphis, and he hasn't gotten the endorsements yet for being like a face of the NBA. But LeBron James has faded out. Like, he really, really has. Steph Curry has actually come back to the forefront. He stepped away for a little bit from the face of the NBA. But as of right now, I would say Steph Curry is probably the face of the NBA, who they want to focus on. LeBron James came out and said earlier this past week that he's going to play with Bronny.
Right.
And that'll be next year.
That in a little bit.
Yeah, and that'll be next year. Yeah, okay, and we'll get into that later.
We'll see.
And
we'll see. But, I mean, so you got a couple of people on here that are agreeing with you. Freddie Rodriguez says Steph Curry. So does Danny Sims. And best action that basketball has seen in years is Juwan Howard. Which, Kevin Anthony, we actually planned to get to that, too, later on in the show.
That was brutal.
And the handshaking debate. I mean, yes, I think you should. That just... Okay, anyways, we'll get to that in a little bit. That's another debate. This is going to be an opinionated show, guys.
Yeah, bring them. We love all your opinions.
Let's go on the ride. Yeah.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
I didn't even read that. I didn't look down at the comments. But yeah, Steph Curry, especially going off for 50, he won the first Kobe Bryant MVP award. All those points went to donations. It was over $100,000 donated to a charity. And he's very likable, and
he hit
he's not political.
threes with 50 points in that game.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, watch the game.
I mean,
though.
it's
There's
the
no
All-Star game.
defense.
There's no defense for sure.
Ridiculous.
But he made like 5 in a row on like 5 straight possessions or something like that. 5 threes in a row.
He was dropping bombs for sure. He was
impressive.
out there having fun, and that's what it's all about, I guess. But I didn't watch just because there is no defense. It's not. I mean, you're not showcasing their talents because there's not.
Let me ask you this: why did you watch it before? What intrigued you about it before? Because there's always kind of been no defense.
If LeBron James was in the slam dunk contest, we're watching. 100% everybody's watching.
No, I'm talking about the game.
Oh, you're talking about the game? Well, I mean, the whole weekend in general for me was fun a long time ago because you had the stars in all the events.
So you're talking about the stars.
Yeah, you wanted those stars. Like, Steph Curry, why is he out of the three-point competition? Karl Anthony Towns won it. That's terrible. That's terrible. And Steph Curry, who just hit 16 threes in the game, wasn't even in the three-point competition. It's not the competition without the stars in it. It's boring. Like, nobody wants to watch Karl Anthony Towns. I want to see if Steph Curry can make every single one of those racks. Like, that's what's exciting. I want to see LeBron James take off from the free throw line and see if he can do the MJ dunk. That's exciting. Not these other guys. They made 27% of their dunks. Like, that's terrible.
So you basically, to fix the problems and to make it more intriguing, is to bring the old guys.
Well, no, in their prime.
Make them do some amazing
If
things.
Ja Morant wouldn't have had an injury, it would have been fun to watch him. But you need the stars. Like, it's all star weekend, all these guys rest. The NBA has got to get away from this resting thing. It gets ridiculous. There's only 82 games. I don't
That's
understand.
a lot.
Well,
but
maybe they should change
I get
up
your point.
Maybe they should change up the format. Let them rest like every other game. Make the season a little longer. I don't know, but this resting player thing, and that they do it all the time. Like, it's just constant. Oh, he's got an ankle injury. He could probably play in 2 or 3 days. They're like, he's out 2 weeks. And they're just rest for the playoffs.
That's also too, say it's a personal reason, but they'll come out to the media and say it's because of this.
Yeah,
it's because of that.
I just, the NBA has a lot of work to do. And it came out, this past weekend, the ratings were absolutely atrocious. Like, they were terrible. And you can see it's not full of the stars are getting older. And it's funny because
But then again, that, like you said, it kind of, you didn't say this, but it does open up the door for the young guys to make a name for themselves, in which they didn't do good in the dunk contest, so that did not help them at all. But I feel like, that is a positive takeaway if you look at it and say, okay, there's some new faces here that can, maybe be up and coming. But I asked you a minute ago, and thank you again for all of your comments, who is the face of the NBA? Nobody mentioned Giannis, who was MVP and won the championship last year. And you know what? He has all the same stats right now as Joel Embiid. Basically, points, rebounds, you look at them and they're the same. But yet you have Embiid, I guess because he doesn't had a star cast around him, and then you have Giannis, who does have help from other players. But yeah, I mean, no one said this guy who was the championship last year.
Small market team, Milwaukee, and very, very, doesn't have a lot to say. You put it. I said that about John Morant a minute ago. He's in Memphis. If John Morant or Giannis was playing in L.A., New York, Philly, Boston, any one of those huge market teams, they would be the face. But they're in a small market team. It's hard for the NBA to boost up the Milwaukee Bucks or the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not. There's this kid Duncan Robinson out of Miami. All right? He's the fastest player in the history of the NBA to reach 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and 700 three-pointers. Faster than Steph Curry. Faster than Ray Allen. Faster than all of them. Duncan Robinson from the Miami Heat. You don't even know who he is.
No, you're giving me breaking news right now.
Yeah, fastest ever in the history of the NBA to reach those.
Wow.
And you don't even know who he is. He plays down in Miami. But, I mean, granted, he's a three-point specialist. But, yeah, he's hit more in a faster amount of time than all the greats, and it's amazing.
But like I said earlier, Steph Curry won the 3-point record, or not won rather, but
he holds the record now. Yeah,
holds it. So how does that work with this?
No, he's just the fastest to reach those numbers. I mean, he can eventually get over there, but he reached 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and 700 threes faster than anybody. Crazy. And it's weird to think that, this generation, think of the athletes that we've watched that are all coming to an end. LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Serena Williams, Usain Bolt, Roger Federer, Floyd Mayweather, Tom Brady, Michael Phelps, that we got to witness all of their greatness.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch in the NBA that are, coming to the end of theirs. We were blessed to watch all those. And it's you bring up a good point, who's now going to take over all these sports, not just the NBA, but the NFL and baseball and all these greats, even in soccer, Ronaldo's at the end, and so is Messi. And there's an issue in soccer now with a bunch of young kids coming in that like to fight on the field, and this is in football, not football. This is soccer, and it's a younger generation coming up, and it's interesting to see all these older guys kind of fade out and come towards the end of their careers. And who's going to take over? Giannis is in the middle of his career. John Morant's at the very beginning of his career. Joel Embiid, I think, is probably in the middle, too. But those guys, I think if the NBA plays their cards right, their numbers could go up because those guys are fun to watch. They really are. And as long as nobody gets political, and I think that's where LeBron James really went bad, is when he tried to, go into politics. He should have stayed out of it. But
I mean, you make a good point about saying that with Steph Curry. He doesn't really get into politics with the media at all. He just kind of, he puts his head down, plays the game, and then him and his wife open up restaurants. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of LeBron James, he had a couple comments over the weekend. Everybody knows this news by now. He's saying he's going to play the last year with his son, Bronny. Now, his son is 17. He won't be eligible to be in the draft until 2024.
Oh.
So that's whenever LeBron will be 39 years old. He's 37 at the moment. So looks like LeBron still has another year with the Lakers, but he was in Cleveland. And like you said, the Cleveland crowd didn't even applaud him as much as they did Jordan.
No.
And however, I feel like LeBron, that's where he wants to be. That's where he wants to end up.
I think he'll end his career there, and I think he'll try to convince.
However, Cleveland's trying to win a championship without him right now. They're trying to prove that they can do it. They haven't been this far since, I believe, '89.
The Cavaliers are way better than the Lakers. The Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
The Lakers are the talk of the NBA right now, just because of how bad they are, and it's a LeBron put together team, right? With all those superstars. I mean, Carmelo. You've got Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James. Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard. 5 Hall of Famers. I mean, and we all said this at the beginning. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not. And I don't know why LeBron thought it would, but that's the sad thing is
because
that
they're all
takes over.
superstars, but they are all older as well.
34, 35, 36 years old in the NBA is ancient. I mean, that is old. Some of those guys start when they're 18 years old. That means they've been
have you seen the Houston Rockets?
Yeah, exactly. They're like 16, but if you're 36 years old, you've been in the NBA for 18 years already. That is a long time. Michael Jordan, put it in perspective. Yeah. Michael Jordan was in the league for 15 years. Granted, he took a year and a half off, but he was only in the league for 15 years. LeBron's on year 18. If he stays till dude, I'm sorry to say this, but I do not want to watch LeBron James for 2 more years. That's going to be, and I really, really think that if he does that, he's really going to hurt his legacy.
No,
it's going to go down.
I don't think so. What I think is I keep hearing it. It's a package deal, and it's going to be so marketable to whatever team it is. If he truly does go with his son where he's playing, and I really do think it's going to be in Cleveland, regardless if I think LeBron will be in Cleveland regardless. But
I think
in general, if they
there.
do a package deal, who's going to say no to that? Because it's going to bring so much jersey and merchandise money into that organization.
I think you're right. And he's good friends with the GM over there. He even said it in a press conference this past week. I think that he'll try to get Bronny drafted or make a trade to get him in Cleveland. And I think LeBron will spend his last year there. That's his hometown, and he brought them a championship. By the way, that 2016, and I don't give a lot of credit to LeBron James for a lot of things, but that 2016 team where they beat the Golden State Warriors, came back from 3-1, LeBron and Kyrie Irving, it was fantastic to watch. That was unbelievable. I mean, it was and that's where you're like, wow, this guy is really, really good. But that was only one, I mean, I don't count, I'm sorry, but I'm not counting his pandemic one 40-something game championship in the bubble. I'm not with the Lakers.
And the thing is, you talked about 2016 whenever they did win. The first time, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, I was wrong in the year. 1998 was the first time Cleveland clinched playoff berth without LeBron.
Without LeBron. Wow.
Without LeBron.
They're going to do it
who
this
was
year.
on that team? Sean Kemp, Wesley Person.
Yep.
And I can never say this name. Zydrunas
Ilgauskas.
Ilgauskas. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you for
dude.
that. Thank you.
He was so amazing, and unfortunately, he came over here. Well, he was hurt the first 2 or 3 years of his career. Somebody compared him to basically what Zion's doing right now. The first 3 years of his career, he was just injured. But when he did play, he was fantastic. He was one of the great European players. And he was great. Right now, to your point, Cleveland sits at 35-23, fourth in the Eastern Conference. And they're going to move up for sure. They're above the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. And the Brooklyn Nets sit at their 8th seed at 31-28.
And that's why James wanted to leave.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see this James Harden, Joel Embiid drama play out. Because Joel doesn't seem like a guy that plays around. I think
he does seem more serious, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But speaking of serious, not serious, did you see James Harden's outfit for All-Star Weekend?
No.
One of the things he showed up in? My goodness, people, look this up. The announcers were calling it a pea suit because it's a pea coat and then also a suit. Cut and sewed together. Man. Please look it up, guys. But yes, so we LeBron James for a minute, his comments, what it means if he does get to play with his son his last year, or if his farewell tour is in Cleveland with or without his son. All I have to say is that he's playing with Bronny. I'd be scared to be that coach because I know LeBron's going to be wanting to coach his son in that whole system.
You can't, not a lot of people can name LeBron's last 6 coaches because he is the coach,
But can you imagine if your son is on that team?
I can't wait to get into the Tom Brady thing a little bit with coaching.
Well, we can jump right into that right now. Tom Brady, of course, he retired a couple weeks ago, and it comes out this week, over the weekend. I can't remember if it was Sunday or Monday.
It was a few days ago.
But, retired because of the relationship that he had with Bruce Arians and the Bucs for the head coach. And he isn't basically done with football. I have so many thoughts on this, and hypothetically, I just want to say, he's already missing the game. He's already having FOMO, so he wants to get back into it. Secondly, what I read, how this information came out, was on a podcast. And it was that offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, and Tom Brady would get together in the mornings. They would draw out game plans while Bruce Arians was rehabbing his Achilles, and then he would come in and he would scratch out all of their game plans.
Yeah.
But Bruce Arians fires back and said, none of that happened. I don't even get my Achilles rehabbed. I don't even do. He said, first of all, I don't rehab my Achilles in the morning. I will go over game plans, add things, but I don't delete anything. I don't have to because they do such a good job. I see some things, add some things. It's an awesome collaboration. One of the best I've ever been around. And that's, from multiple sources on ESPN, from NBC Sports. What are your thoughts on this?
So I have a few of them. It's very interesting. Like it is. My initial thought is Tom Brady hasn't said anything yet, which is interesting. I thought Tom Brady usually would come out and say this is all
He's like,
BS.
I'm letting the media speak for itself.
And Tom usually would come out and be like, no, none of that happened, and yes, I'm retired. And then we'll get into the teams in a second. My second thought about this is why, it makes sense. It does for Tom to leave the way he did. Remember how the story broke? It was very weird about him retiring. He didn't want to say it like that, and then he was like, "Oh,
well,
it's almost like he had to come out."
I think he wanted to collect the check on Friday, and someone broke it on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, and it was very weird. He had to come out with a comment, and you haven't heard a ton from Tom since that. To your point with the Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians thing, if last year, remember when they won, Tom Brady was calling all the plays, and Bruce Arians and him had a great relationship.
And that's why he went to Tampa Bay, so that he could take over that offense. Yeah.
Complete control. What's interesting is that the media, I think the longer Tom lets this marinate, the worse it's going to get. Speculation is really going to start brewing. Tom Brady grew up a 49ers fan. And he's always wanted to end his career in San Francisco. He's said that multiple times. So and guess who needs a quarterback right now and is not there's new video that just surfaced about Trey Lance, and it is terrible. Apparently they are not sold on him, and he apparently is not their starting quarterback coming. They don't think that he's going to be their starting quarterback this coming up season. Tom Brady to San Francisco makes complete sense, and I can see Brady on the back of a 49er uniform.
So here's the deal. That's just an interesting spin because of Jimmy G was under Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady takes Jimmy G's place. Okay, so aside from all of that, I also think about Byron Leftwich.
Yep.
And obviously them going to the Super Bowl, having such great plans, game plans to do that this last season, it was kind of up and down with Tom. But if they have such good game plans and he likes working with Leftwich is a candidate right now for head coach. He had been looked at, but he can't go anywhere.
Yeah, he can't go anywhere now. There's a lot.
So why would you want to mess that up?
Well, Tom Brady, I think, was teaching Byron Leftwich, right? I don't think Byron Leftwich was teaching Tom anything. And
anything?
Kyle Shanahan would love to have Tom Brady. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches out there by far. He's done more with less than any other young coach out there. Sean McVay had to hire every superstar possible to come in and win a Super Bowl.
Hey, that was the team.
Sean McVay's done it with Jimmy G, which is absolutely insane.
He also done it with Lions quarterback.
Yeah,
why is his name leaving
Stafford?
me? No. Sorry. No, well, who they traded for? Why is it leaving my brain?
Jared Goff. Yeah, Jared Goff.
Which we know Goff's not that great.
Sean McVay's a hell of a coach. And this is all speculation, right? But Tom Brady to the 49ers makes a lot of sense. He wouldn't have to throw as much as he would, even though he led the league in passing yards, passing attempts, touchdowns. Tom Brady was phenomenal last year. And that's why it's actually really weird that he would retire at the top. He was number one in the NFL in touchdowns, yardage, attempts, completions.
We had this conversation sometime in the playoffs, and I asked you, we talked about Tom Brady retiring, and I said no. And we were talking about if they make it to the Super Bowl, if he wins the Super Bowl. I said no because he wants to do I think that he would want to give the game of football and the fans a farewell tour, like Ben Roethlisberger. And you said, no, he ends it. That's it. That's done. So now are you changing that? thought?
Well, it's just because of all these rumors with the Bruce Arians thing. And look, so there's been a couple of offensive linemen that have come out and said that this is all true. That the thing between Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady, and then Bruce Arians come in and changing things, wanting to do it his way, that Bruce Arians is sort of, after they won the Super Bowl, turned into a control freak because the Super Bowl was Tom Brady's and not Bruce Arians, and he wanted to take more control of the team, and he wanted to win one for himself. So it makes sense, and the fact that Tom hasn't come out and said anything is very interesting. But also, Tom Brady, he likes to be well prepared, so we'll know pretty soon, I would think, that if Tom comes out of retirement. And a quick note to that, he had to retire in order to switch teams. So if he did want to go anywhere else, he had to retire. So he can now come back into the NFL with a new team, I believe. So it's interesting. It brings in a lot of scenarios. But
wait, why did he have to retire?
Because they would have had to trade him. They would have had to trade him. They would have had to do something. So he ended up having to retire and collect his paycheck. But I don't see him going to any other weird teams. I think that if he does come out of retirement, I think San Francisco is the one and only option. And ironically, it fits perfect for him.
I just don't see Tom
a fun
Brady.
Scenario.
I just don't see Tom Brady in California. I just don't. He's been on the East Coast all of his life.
Yeah,
it seems.
It would be fun. It would be a lot of fun. And look, Tampa Bay, this whole Deshaun Watson thing is very interesting because it just broke out in the news yesterday that now Deshaun Watson is going to be able to testify in his civil cases.
Against 9. Only against 9.
Against 9 of them? Okay, so
yeah.
Against 9. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know if good or bad how that works out. But I do know that moves are being taken in those cases.
I thought you were going to say moves are being shaken. We go in Jamaican.
So it looks like Deshaun Watson needs to get this cleared up as quick as possible so he can play. The Bucs have come out and said that if the league has allowed him, he could have played last year. The Texans didn't want him to. They suspended him or whatever. So he could have played. The league is not holding Deshaun Watson back. Now, the Texans trading stays way, way up, and we saw the whole thing with Washington this week about what they offered.
It's also a no-trade clause. If they try to trade him somewhere he doesn't want to go. But at this
point,
I feel like he would kind of take
the Tampa
anyway.
Bay Buccaneers looks very interesting. That looks fantastic for Deshaun Watson.
All
that's a good
speculating
fit for him.
if Brady.
Yeah, well, I don't think if Brady comes back, I don't think that he's going back to Tampa. That's what I'm saying. I think the only way that Tom Brady comes back and plays NFL again is if it's with the San Francisco 49ers. He's always wanted to retire with them. He loves the San Francisco 49ers, Joe Montana, Steve Young. He loves the history. I can totally see him coming into San Francisco, winning a title with that team because, you put Tom Brady on that team, they're immediately number one Super Bowl contenders. And Tom wins a Super Bowl in San Francisco and walks off into the sunset. Perfect ending. And he gets his farewell tour, like you said. But again, this is the 2 weeks in sports commentary that we don't have a whole lot to talk about, so we'll just keep up speculation.
We've been talking for a long time. We have a lot to talk about
up until March Madness.
So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. What are you talking about? Well, we're talking about predicting quarterbacks and the carousel and where they're going to go. And we have a lot of open spaces, not just San Francisco, but we have Carson Wentz. Is he just complete trash now?
Oh, golly.
Like, he's so hard to watch. How many times did he get sacked? And obviously that's not due to him, but interceptions just did not.
Man. Remember that last game, the Jacksonville Jaguars?
We thought it was a strong start to the season, and it was. And then he just kind of crumbled.
Yeah, he got hurt. He got hurt, and then when he came back, he had a few good games. Right? Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz. There's no other way to put it.
Is his contract up?
Yeah, Carson Wentz. The leading candidate where Carson Wentz goes right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a great fit for him. But poor Pittsburgh has to deal with another immobile, almost like a Ben Roethlisberger lookalike, just sitting back there.
Great, so they're used to it.
Yeah, they are. They are used to it. Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot of moves to make. I thought they would be a really good team, but all three of their top secondary players are all under. Well, their contracts are up, so they either got to be re-signed or they're moving, which is tough for them because they have T.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year.
Speaking of the Steelers, I believe they hired Brian Flores.
Yep.
And so, getting back to quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, does he stay in Seattle? I think he does. That's what he said he wanted to do. Right
now, Seattle's the leading candidate for Russell Wilson.
He literally said it on the radio last week. Words are words.
Metcalf, Lockett, he's got a great, receiving core. They need to up that offensive line and get some more on defense. And Seattle, could be a contender. I hate to see if we've seen the best of Russell Wilson. That sucks because Russell Wilson was so good.
I feel like he, as if any quarterback would be, is elevated when he has better guys around him, and he hasn't. I know you mentioned Metcalf, but when you think of Seattle, who else do you really think of?
I mean, Tyler Lockett, even though Tyler Lockett's oldish, he's still a great wide receiver.
I feel like Russell Wilson has degraded slowly.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It hasn't been a huge fall.
2 years ago, remember the first 6 to 8 games of the season? Russell Wilson was the NFL MVP. He was unreal.
I
mean, he was going off.
He was in the running for sure.
He had like 14 touchdowns in the first 6 games of the season. He was really just, tearing up the league. And then he just fell off. And it's almost like he's never been the same since halfway through that 2020 season or 2019 season. And I hate it because Russell Wilson is an incredible quarterback. I just hate to know that if we've seen the best of Russell Wilson. And I don't know, but I think he does stay in Seattle.
All you guys out there right now, answer that question in the comments. I'll get to some of your comments right now talking about Houston's new team in a bit. But, yeah, do you think that Russell Wilson is kind of getting washed up? Have we seen the best of him? Has he already peaked? Let us know your answers. Another quarterback, which I could see somewhat maybe Tom Brady going here, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So,
oh, my God, Brady and the Packers.
They signed, I know, it'd be kind of crazy, right? They signed Devontae Adams, hoping that Aaron Rodgers would stay.
Right now, I think the Denver Broncos are the leading candidate for Aaron Rodgers. I really think he goes there. I don't know if he was drunk, but when he released a statement last night at the wee hours of the morning, thanking his now ex-girlfriend, some of his offensive linemen, Randall Cobb, some other people, the Green Bay organization, but he wasn't saying thank you and like goodbye. It was weird. It was just a weird. It was like 4 paragraphs, and it was strange the way he released it. And it was an awkward time. So he didn't say goodbye to Green Bay by any means, but he didn't say I'm staying. And he just said that he came off a 12-day cleanse and that he was clearing his head and he'll make a decision.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just broke the engagement off too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I totally got ahead of myself. They haven't signed Devontae Adams, but it's likely to be a franchise tag deal, $20 million deal.
Yeah, the franchise tags opened up yesterday
because he's heading into his last season under contract. So there's that. And when we talk about the Aaron Rodgers staying as well, they just signed Tom Clemens. Tom Clemens has been there the past couple seasons, but before that was the quarterback's coach with the Cardinals, where Kyler Murray is. What's going to happen with Kyler Murray? He is not in good graces with the Cardinals right now.
This is your old-fashioned Mexican standoff between Kyler Murray and Arizona. It's just money. His rookie contract is up. He wants to get paid like a top quarterback, and that's why he took down all the stuff. It's just negotiation tactics.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, I would love for you to tell me something.
So today I had a really cool interview. If you go to my social media, you'll see who it was with. But he plays for the Arizona Cardinals. Not going to give too much information away about Kyler Murray, but he basically likes to be a one-man band.
Yep.
And thinks that he can make any play he wants without any help that he needs because he's 5'10". So take that information with what you will and put that into his character or personality. And that's what I'm told about this quarterback. Do you think he will remain there?
Yeah, I think he'll stay there. They're going to have to pay him. The whole thing, he wants that long-term deal. The Arizona Cardinals need to make a decision whether or not he's their franchise quarterback, which look, as much as Kyler Murray may be a one-man band and do whatever, he's still a top 7 quarterback in the league. I mean, at the very beginning of this season, he was up there with the MVP race. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And I say top 7. Some people would say top 4 probably. Those aren't easy to come by in the NFL. So if you're Arizona, I think you do sign him. I don't know what he's looking for. I don't know if he's looking for Watson money. I don't know if he's looking somewhere in the 23 to 25 mil a year range, but he's not worth that 30.
Look, if you are battling to get what you want, meaning to stay with the organization you're already with to make more money, wouldn't you put more endorsements on your social media rather than take them away?
I mean, look.
That just doesn't make any sense to me. If you're like, if you're begging or really wanting something and I'm coming to you and I'm like asking you like, please, like, can I have your hat? Please, can I have your hat? Am I going to delete you off of my social media?
Well, I mean, his whole point is, if you want me to represent your team, you need to pay me. Oh, are we doing the cowboy hat?
I just saw the hat and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to use this as an analogy right now. There he is, Country Jeff. Country Jeff. There he goes. It makes no sense to me. Why would you delete all of your stuff if you want to be signed further to a team? That's indication that you want to go somewhere else, that you're not happy with where you are.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I don't. I also
if
don't.
If I take off my Texans uniform, do you think, I'm asking you if I can dance again next year? No.
I mean, I don't know what goes through these athletes' heads, and I don't know about, it's also the relationship between him and Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know how sour that relationship is now. Cliff Kingsbury seems to really, really falter in second halves of every college, pros, wherever he's at. I don't know how the offense runs. Obviously Cliff Kingsbury opens it up, but Kyler Murray's a running quarterback, and they don't last long in the NFL. I know that
He's both.
Arizona's probably struggling right now with how long do we sign him? Because if he's a scrambling quarterback, he's going to get hurt. So how long do you sign him for, and how much is he worth? Is he the $22 to $25 million a year, or is he the $30 million a year?
He reminds me of a young, and this guy's young who I'm comparing him to, but as far as being in the league, he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes a little bit.
Yeah,
the way that he can really escape the pocket, or he can stay inside, be mobile if he wants to be. But then again, you have all of the team around Patrick Mahomes. You kind of do here, but with information I just told you, Murray doesn't like acting like
Larry
it.
Fitzgerald's gone, and Hopkins was hurt all year, so that hurts him a lot. He didn't have a lot of weapons around him throughout this past year. The very beginning of the season, the Cardinals were great. They were 9-1. Or 8-1. I mean, they were the best team in NFL for the first 10 weeks of the season, probably, and then they just fell off. Like I said, Cliff Kingsbury second half of seasons, he just completely shuts down. I don't know what it is.
So
and now
you are blaming the coaching.
Well, I mean, are you going to blame? I mean, injuries and coaching, yes.
I mean, D-Hop had some balls go through his hands. I remember he had some missed catches through the season. I mean,
we wouldn't be having this conversation if the Rams had just won one playoff game. They got destroyed. I mean, the Cardinals, they got destroyed by the Rams.
Are you having a hard time keeping up your headphones? Because
So
that 10-gallon hat. All good. So we talked about Tom Brady going to going to San Francisco, possibly, hypothetically, what you think is going to happen. But what happens to Jimmy Garoppolo? I feel like, obviously, we all kind of know he's not that great of a quarterback. Goes to be a backup somewhere?
Indianapolis Colts if Carson Wentz leaves.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great team for him. Incredible running game, decent passing game. I mean, look, if they would have been – this is the weirdest thing to say still. They would have been in the playoffs if they would have just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars.
My goodness. They were 8-7, I believe.
Oh, my gosh. The Jaguars beat them the last game of the season. That is inexcusable. Frank Reich, that whole Indianapolis Colts, inexcusable. They should not have lost that.
There were some crazy upsets
But it also
brought
us one of the most fantastic football games we've ever seen, which was the Raiders-Chargers game, which was unbelievable. The whole NFL season was absolutely amazing.
There were so many, like I said a minute ago, games that were just like, what the heck? This team is losing to this team? I mean, you ended it off with the 49Green Bay. Who would they lose to? They only put up like 3 points
Green
or
Bay
something
lost.
like that.
They beat Dallas. Remember, they went to Dallas. And then
they lost to the 49ers.
I'm sorry, the 49ers went to Dallas. 49ers,
the regular season.
Oh,
there were just like some crazy stacked teams that you lost, and you're like, what?
Yeah, San Francisco went into Green Bay and beat them in the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers MVP. That was sad to watch because I really wanted Rodgers. I think that we
thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be there, and the Packers.
All in hindsight now, but it is what it is.
So many of those. It was a good season, man. And then so many close games going in overtime, like on Monday nights, Thursday nights, Specifically, Chargers, Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the last 4 weeks of the whole season, every game was
Bills, Chiefs.
Like every game was a field goal. Yeah, Bills, Chiefs.
That was phenomenal.
That was like Super Bowl #1 for everybody.
That's what I said. I said this is the Super Bowl. I felt like that was more of a Super Bowl game than what we watched last Sunday.
And you've got they lead. Okay, so right now in Vegas, they're the top 2 teams. Super Bowl 57 odds. Kansas City is plus 700. Buffalo plus 750, and then it jumps. Los Angeles is plus 1,000. San Francisco plus 1,400.
What?
Yeah, San Francisco is the #4 spot. And look, that right there shows you that they might get Tom Brady. Because they don't even know. There's no way that San Francisco is a plus 1,400 with Trey Lance.
Okay, so
it's not. There's no way.
So that begs the question of the bigger picture. How much does Vegas know?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's crazy.
They
Cincinnati
got the inside information from freaking phone
know.
calls
they
amongst
know
the two
more.
teams? Are you kidding me?
Cincinnati's right after them, tied at 1,400. Then Green Bay, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Tennessee's at plus 2,000. Baltimore at plus 2,000. That's awkward. Then you Denver. Look, Denver at plus 2,200. New England at 2,500. And then the last team, I'll go last, is New York Jets. And then the second to last team, the Houston Texans.
Okay, yeah, that is what it is. No, you talked about guys peaking or fading out, and we mentioned Russell Wilson. Have we seen the best of him?
Yep.
How do you feel about Lamar Jackson?
You and I, we've been doing this for 2 years now, and I've said from day one, and I said this 4 or 5 years ago, you can't run like he can. Like, I mean, it eventually catches up with you, and it's just what's going to happen. He's injury prone now. He's injured every single year now, and that's just what happens. And he's not – the problem with Lamar Jackson is he's not accurate. He can run, and he can scramble, and he's fun to watch, and he can do these amazing things. He's just not the most accurate quarterback out there, so he's not a pocket passer. So Baltimore's kind of stuck with what they got. They need a better running game and a really good defense in order to go somewhere, I would think. Or, find a Joe Flacco back
So do
up.
you think we've seen the best of him?
Of Lamar? Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Really?
I do. I don't think Lamar Jackson might have. Remember at the very end of Michael Vick's career, he got out of jail. He played in Atlanta, played in Philly, and he had just a few of these amazing games, right? I think they went to the playoffs when he was with Philly. And he had, he had these glimpses of his former self, and it's like unbelievable. But I mean, he's one injury away from like almost calling it a day. If he blows out another knee or something, I mean, obviously the NFL takes a lot on your body, and he's taking these huge injuries and these huge hits and all this stuff. I feel like if he gets injured again next year, then if you're a Baltimore fan, you're like, all right, we've got to start looking for another quarterback.
I definitely see where you're coming from, but I feel like he could have a resurgence next year. I really do.
He could.
I feel more strongly saying this about J.J. Watt, unfortunately, being, we've seen the best of him, but not Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the same thing I just said with J.J. J.J.'s still productive if he's on the field. But he's older, and a 35-year-old in the NFL that's ancient. I mean, you are old. Because of all the wear and tear your body takes.
I know.
It's sad to say that, but JJ, when he's on the field, very, very, very productive. But the problem is he's one arm stretch away from ripping his chest muscles. And unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, he's one play away from tearing a hamstring. And when you tear a hamstring, it takes 4 or 5 weeks at least to try to come back from that. And we've seen players never, ever be the same after they tear hamstrings.
Hamstrings take forever.
Yeah, and sometimes
forever to heal. I've experienced it myself. It sucks because I like to run. But, yeah, we'll see where it goes. I mean, look at us. We say we're going to pivot away from football to basketball, which we spent most of the show talking about. But here we are again talking about the National Football League.
We only have 10 minutes left.
My goodness.
Wow.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit of basketball. It was mentioned earlier in the comments about Juwan Howard, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and starting that brawl. He is a former NBA player. Of course, everyone knows this, but it was against the Wisconsin Badgers, and it was at the handshake at the end of the game because allegedly he didn't like a play call or something like that. But the Badgers
it was a timeout.
It was a timeout. The Badgers guy initiated it, and then he threw his hand. And a lot of people are saying he should never coach the game of basketball again because of various reasons. You have younger guys underneath you that are looking up towards you. You're coaching them literally, and to not just be the best basketball player that you can be, but the best man that you can be growing up, because once again, these are college boys. And then you have others saying, they need to get rid of the handshake at the end of the game. The cause of this whole thing is the handshake. What do you think is the cause of this? Why? What?
I think Juwan Howard just had
what's the consequence?
Well, first of all, I pretty much there's only 5 games left in the season, in the regular season for them, so I knew he'd be suspended for those. I thought he would be suspended for the entire. So when I first saw this, if it was closed fist, I was like, he's done. He's done in Michigan. He's done coaching. That's bad. That's real bad.
But it was like
but no, it was a slap. It was an open hand slap. He did slap him, but it was open hand. If he would have punched him closed fist, we've seen a lot worse from
still
Bob.
Made contact though.
Bob White just threw a chair across the floor. You know what I'm saying? And obviously there's some student stuff that people get really agitated about with Bob Knight, but. You can't punch another coach in the face. You can't. I'm sorry. You just can't do that. It doesn't matter where you are, what program you're with. You can. Yeah.
What is the future? What does the future look like then, though, for Juwan Howard, for his time there, for his suspension? What do you think needs to happen? Is the handshake
I think that Juwan. If obviously the athletic director is going to make this call, but I wouldn't think that Michigan would allow him to stay on their as their head coach. You just can't do that. You just can't. Or just suspend him until next year, and hopefully he does some things with charity, and it's all forgotten. But you never know. With sports, you never know. Sometimes you're just like, wow, how did all this happen?
So a lot of people don't know this, but this is the second time Howard has initiated a bench clearing deal on national television. So he was hit with 2 technical fouls and then was ejected in a game against Maryland last March when he clashed with coach Mark Turgeon. So this is the second time he's done this. And it's just like, okay, how many times are we going to give you? At first I thought, okay, this is a total suspension. Something along those lines, but not really a firing. After 2 times, shame's on you. It's like once shame on me, twice shame on you kind of thing. Or I don't know if I said that forwards or backwards. But, they did it for the second time. That just shows when the blood gets boiling, things will happen.
Yep.
And hands will fly, apparently.
Yeah, that was not good by Juwan Howard. But, we'll see what happens. It was interesting to watch, but it's done now.
It is done. I'm just curious what the conclusion will be of that. And lastly, the NFL and the XFL are partnering. I just think it's so funny, Jeff, because so many times they said, nope, we're not having a collaboration. Nope, this is not going to be a G League or a preparatory league to get you into the NFL. That's not what it's going to be. And here they are. Collaborating.
This fantastic move by the new owners of the XFL. They were not going to be able to make it on their own. We've seen this. Leagues have tried and tried and tried. There's no way they were going to be a standalone league. They are now a minor league for the NFL.
Right, and that's what they said they didn't want to be, but here they are.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea.
100%.
I think it's a great idea. Obviously, the longer that you stay in the XFL, the more banged up you're going to get. We just talked about longevity, so it isn't the best if you are in the XFL forever, having hopes to make it to the NFL, but you still get to play and you're being paid for it.
Yeah, and the NFL gets to they're gonna do rules changes. They're gonna practice rule changing on there, officiating, health and safety protocols, everything. It is almost identical to what the Major League Baseball and their AAA system and even their AA system, where they're just trying out stuff, robotic. Like right now in baseball, they're trying out the robot umpires and, pitch counts as far as like time limits and stuff like that. I think it's a great idea. And again, I think the XFL will be fun to watch, but it is a minor league to the NFL. And it gives a lot of these players TV time and time to showcase their skills and do some different things. Coaches, I mean, they're going to employ a lot of people, which is the main thing, employ a lot of personnel, and it'll be fun to watch. I mean, we all know the Houston Gamblers. Is that what they were?
Houston Gamblers. That's what they will be.
They were 8-0. They go back to that name?
No. It was the Roughnecks when it was the XFL in 2020. Now it is going to be the Gamblers. But speaking of TV time, it all makes perfect sense now. Why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did his whole performance before the NFL and was like, doing his whole, what do you call it, the wrestling? Is there a name for that they do before they go in the ring?
His hype speech?
Yeah, it's like, get ready, the Rams, the Bengals.
Eyebrow? I don't know how to do it. My son loves The Rock Johnson. Dude, I had to pay some money for V-Bucks for Fortnite because Rock Johnson was on there or something, man. It was crazy.
Well, it makes sense. That's why he started the Super Bowl.
Great move for him. Great move for the XFL. And a good move for the NFL to basically have a minor league system for them to experiment with health and safety. And everybody complains about the refs, so now the refs will have different another platform they can practice.
Freddie, thank you so much for that correction. We forgot about the USFL, and that's who the Houston team is going to be, the Gamblers. So the Houston Gamblers, the USFL, and maybe...
Yeah, it's not XFL anymore, sorry.
No. They're two different leagues. They're two different leagues. I believe the USFL is jumping ahead so that they can get ahead of the game of the XFL. But the XFL, if they're partnering with the NFL, as we just said, they're going to be successful.
Definitely.
I'm just happy we're about to have some more football.
Yeah, and Freddie had also mentioned about baseball before we get out of here. Look, the meeting broke up yesterday. They met today, and as far as I know, they're still in the meetings, but they got a lot closer. MLB raised its pre-arbitration bonus pool to $5 million to $20 million, which they raised, so that's $15 million, which is large, but they said it's not enough. MLB also proposed to allow one more draft pick to determine by lottery. This is how petty it is. One more draft pick. Now top 4. Players had proposed 8 instead of 4. Look, we're going to have baseball. They are really on the nitty gritty now. I think that in the next week or so, we'll have baseball. It'll be back and it'll be announced. If it didn't happen today, I don't know yet. But I think in the next week or so, they're going to announce it. And March 3rd that they have on there? I think spring training will start March 3rd.
The thing is, if opening day doesn't happen, that's the issue.
Yeah, they're not going to go that far. That would be really
April.
bad.
That's a month away.
That would be insane. Check out this real quick, a stat about the NFL. In 2012, here's your top 5 quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Andrew Luck, and Nick Foles. 37,000, 32,000, 30,000, 23, and 14,000 yards.
Whoa, you just flipped our brains upside down from
because we're
USFL to baseball to football.
Well, Freddie had asked a question, so I'm giving the fans what they want.
Freddie asked, Sports with Balls opening day live podcast at Max downtown. Come join the party. Maybe.
McIntyre's, maybe. So that was 2012. 2013, this is your top 5 draft picks in quarterbacks. Mark Glennon.
So random.
Mark Glennon, Geno Smith, Tyrone Manuel, Matt Barkley, and Landry Jones. And the reason I bring this up is because the draft is coming up and people are like, this is not a good quarterback draft. And we talked about all these quarterbacks moving from different place to place. Like Pittsburgh Steelers, they need a new quarterback. Even if they bring in Carson Wentz or Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever, they need a new quarterback. This goes to show you that your draft class means a lot. 2013, those were your top 5 quarterbacks.
By the hire from the Steelers in Brian Flores being the defensive coordinator, I believe, right?
Yes.
So that makes me think that the quarterback doesn't have to be as great through the air, and maybe Jimmy G will be there.
We'll see. Jimmy G's going to have a home. Look, the guy, he's been to a Super Bowl. He's got Super Bowl rings. He's got, he's been to 2 conference championship games. Jimmy G is not out of the league. Sorry, guys. He is not, man.
As much as we all wish he was. Sorry, Jimmy G.
No, I like watching Jimmy. He's got the greatest nicknames. Some people call him some weird things.
You know what I heard about him?
I can't say him on air.
You know what I heard about him? And it might have, of course, rumors are rumors. Who knows what's true, what's not. But he hooked up with a porn star within one of the weeks of the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's why they call him Porn Star Jimmy.
And there you go. There you go. And they a picture was leaked or something was leaked on Twitter from the porn star, kind of like the James Harden thing with the 76ers.
Yep.
Something like that. Anyways, we are running out of time, and that is not my forte to talk about. So let's just get out of here. And
I do have one more thing before we get out of here.
That?
The inflation has hit putt-putt golf. I'm here to tell you. And this is a sport, right? Putt-putt? I know it's not professional maybe, but inflation has hit putt-putt golf. Went down to Discovery Green this past weekend on Sunday, and it was $110 for three of us, my son, myself, and a friend, to play putt-putt golf. $110. Putt-putt's like $5, right? Anywhere you go, $5-10 anywhere. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I was shocked, and the girl I was with said, I wouldn't be mad if you turned that down. I was like, no. I was like, I don't want to be rude, but I was like, $110 to play putt-putt golf. It was
I'll tell you what,
pop-up Pixar, all the Disney movies, and you go through, each hole had like Toy Story and something else, all the movies there. We had fun, don't get me wrong, but it was $110. I mean, wow.
The prices have risen to everything, specifically gasoline. You go to California and it's $5 a gallon. Up here in Houston, it's $3.30.
Absolutely
so,
insane.
Anyways, 110's crazy. That's right. Thanks so much, Chewy.
For putt golf.
Freddie, we got Freddie. Good show, guys. Thank you so much. Danny, thanks for commenting. Thank you all so much for joining us here on SWB this Monday or Tuesday night edition. I had a lot of fun. Did you?
Always good to have Lauren back on the show after jet setting around the world. But we will be back. Stay tuned. Go follow us on our social media sites. We'll let you guys know. And thank you guys for joining us on Sports with Balls. I'm Jeff Michael. This is the beautiful Lauren Leal. We're out of here.
Later.